Independence Day!
Huh?
No!
Hi everyone, welcome to my first review for the channel, and what a movie to start with because I have a lot to say about this one. I just finished watching it. All Quiet on the Western Front, directed by Edward Berger, is a harrowing journey following the German perspective in the final days of World War I, in particular a soldier by the name of Paul. Now this is a remake of a 1930 American film as well as a 1929 novel, so I have not read the book or seen that movie, so this is a completely fresh perspective. Any positives or negatives I have will be unrelated. I will say this film is deserving of all the awards recognition it's getting, even if I have some gripes with it. That being said, this film is emotionally powerful, beautifully made, and some of the most gruesome, realistic depiction of war that I've ever seen. An actor by the name of Felix Kammerer, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is the lead here playing Paul, and he gives a very subtle yet nuanced performance, kind of delving into how somebody can join the war effort with completely different expectations to what the reality is and kind of the journey that he has to go on and the ultimate fate that he has due to that. Daniel Bruhl also appears as a high-ranking German official that is trying to end the war through the armistice effort. The most striking aspect of this movie is the gruesome and just gritty, realistic portrayal of war that does not glamorize it in any way. I had to look away and wince during several scenes, and the film is deliberately doing that to make a point that this is an anti-war movie. This isn't the typical triumphant Hollywood depiction. You know, these guys are going through real suffering and pain, and the film really captures that through all the performances, but as well the just the makeup effects, the gore effects, and it's not gratuitous. It's completely in service of making you feel like you are watching something horrific. It does a lot to humanize these German soldiers who are usually portrayed in a negative light in many other media. I know there's been a million World War I films, World War II films, so this is kind of a nice other angle to take. One notable aspect that does a lot of heavy lifting here is the score. It's completely unique to the war genre that I've never heard a score like this in any other movie in this setting. It's got this pulse pounding kind of almost synth sound to it, but it's used in a way to build suspense and make you buy into this world even more, and I thought it worked very well. The film is extremely well directed, well edited, well shot, and most notably, to me at least, was the lighting. It uses natural lighting in a very unique and, maybe not unique, but just very realistic way where it's, if you wouldn't see a light there in the actual setting, it's not there. It would be complete darkness. There's no spotlights on tables or on actors' faces. It's just the lighting that would be there in that setting. I do want to talk a little bit about the way the film ends. I'm not going to spoil anything. I just want to say that the movie ends pretty much perfectly. It was probably my favorite aspect of this movie. Without getting into it, it's senseless, it's depressing, it's heartbreaking, but the movie is doing that deliberately to show that this is an anti-war message, and in the most personal way kind of shows how somebody can be kind of corrupted and unwilling to accept things even when the conflict is going in a certain way. The way a movie ends is what an audience remembers the first time they walk out of the theater or turn off their Netflix in this case, and this movie ends very well. I do want to go into a couple of gripes that I had that keep this movie from being a 10 out of 10. Again, this is not a negative on the movie as a whole, but it does stick enough in my mind that I have to bring it up. In the end, this is kind of a structure we have seen before in many other war films, like 1917, for example. Not to say the details are the same, but just the evolution of events that occur. And I mean, it's going to happen that way when you're adapting a real war that happened, but and that's not a bad thing to be necessarily structured this way. I don't need everything to be the most original plot ever, but it does contrast a little bit with the tone that the movie's trying to go for, being so gruesome and almost like a horror movie at times with how realistic its portrayal of the war is. So that's just that one's a little bit more of a minor nitpick. My biggest complaint, and again, this is not going to take away from the movie as a whole, is that there are a few too many moments where the German high command and one officer in particular are kind of, they cut to them during an intense battle scene and it's like they're sitting in their ivory tower unaware of the situation or uncaring. Like there'll be scenes of them eating a nice meal on a luxurious train while the soldiers have to scrounge for whatever food they can find. I thought it was a little on the nose and kind of simplifying things a bit too much. Like, it's like, we get it, you know? But that's really my only other complaint. Those points aside, this film is extremely effective and totally worth seeing if you're into history, if you're into just great filmmaking. This movie deserves all the praise that it's getting. All of that being considered, I am going to give All Quiet on the Western Front a 9 out of 10. Quick little bonus rant before we end. When I opened this movie up on my Netflix account and I hit play, it played the English dub with English subtitles over top of that. So it was double redundant in that way. And I wanted the German version with English subtitles, so I had to switch it to that while the movie was playing. I think it's really weird that they start the movie that way as a default. They should default it as the language it was intended to be seen in, and then people can switch it to the dub if they feel like that's what they want. Stop doing that, Netflix. Okay, rant over.